You felt it before the sun rose on this Wednesday, August 27th, a quiet pressure in your chest that said something heavy was finally shifting. Not because a door opened, not because a message arrived, but because the person who once looked at you like you were nothing has just learned, in full color, who you actually are. The humiliation they handed out so easily no longer fits in their mouth. The story they told about you has collapsed under the weight of what heaven allowed them to see. And now, with the day already moving, it is too late for them to rewrite it. You are not here to watch them panic. You are here to understand why this moment feels like a turning point and what you are supposed to do with it. There is a reason your spirit woke up before your alarm. A reason your hands feel different when you think about that name. A reason your breath slows when you remember that you no longer need their approval to know your worth. This is not revenge. This is recognition. And recognition changes everything. If you have been sensing that a season is ending but cannot name it, if you feel that something in your identity is being restored without knowing how to describe it, there is a resource created exactly for moments like this. The ebook called The Secret Calendar of the Chosen helps you identify the season you are living, understand why it feels so significant, and stop interpreting every silence as abandonment. To access the ebook, go now to the top of the comments and click the link in the pinned comment. You do not need to explain this to anyone. You do not need to send a screenshot or write a long message proving that you were right. The very fact that they now know who you are is proof enough that your waiting was not wasted. You have carried this humiliation longer than you admit, letting it sit in your shoulders, your jaw, your stomach, as if your body agreed to hold what your mouth refused to say. You remember the room, the tone, the look that tried to shrink you into a smaller version of yourself. You remember how you smiled afterward, how you said it was fine, how you went back to work, back to your tasks, back to pretending that your heart was not quietly bleeding. But late at night, when the house is still and the phone is face down on the nightstand, the memory returns. It returns with a question. Will I always be the one who gets treated like this? That question has cost you sleep. It has cost you confidence in new rooms. It has cost you the ability to receive compliments without suspicion. It has made you smaller in your own life, as if you were waiting for permission to occupy the space that was always yours. Today, that permission is no longer tied to their opinion. Today, the story they told is being overwritten by a truth they cannot control. This message is not about proving them wrong. It is about helping you recognize that what happened to you was not a verdict on your value, but a signal that you were being prepared for a different kind of visibility. The promise here is simple and strong. You will understand why that humiliation landed so deeply. You will see how it tried to shape your identity without your consent. You will learn to distinguish between their narrative and your calling, and you will walk away from this moment with a clearer sense of who you are when no one is watching, and who you are when everyone finally sees. This is not a small shift. This is the kind of recognition that changes how you answer your phone, how you enter rooms, how you pray, how you rest. Picture this. It is early morning, the coffee in your cup has already cooled. You are sitting at the edge of the bed, phone in your hand, staring at a message or a post or a conversation thread that suddenly makes it clear they know. Maybe someone told them. Maybe they saw something you posted without thinking. Maybe they overheard a truth you finally spoke out loud. Whatever the channel, the content is the same. They now see what you carry. They now understand that you were never the small character they assigned to you, and in that moment your chest tightens, not from fear, but from a strange mix of relief and grief. Relief because the truth is out. Grief because you wish it had not taken this long for them to see it. You set the phone down, you close your eyes, you breathe. And somewhere inside, a quiet voice says, "It is no longer my job to convince them." There is a difference between being chosen and being visible. You were chosen long before they knew your name. You were chosen in the quiet mornings when no one applauded your obedience. You were chosen in the nights you cried and still showed up. You were chosen when you refused to become bitter, even though bitterness would have been understandable. But visibility is different. Visibility is when the hidden preparation becomes public. Visibility is when the person who once dismissed you is forced to reckon with the reality of who you are. This distinction matters because it keeps you from confusing their late recognition with your identity. You are not more chosen because they finally see you. You are simply no longer hidden from them. Many people who have read the secret calendar of the chosen said it helped them understand their season more clearly, organize their prayers, and stop interpreting every silence as abandonment. To access the ebook, go now to the top of the comments and click the link in the pinned comment. This clarity does not make you arrogant, it makes you steady. It lets you stand in rooms where you used to shrink, not because you need to prove anything, but because you finally believe what heaven has been saying about you all along. The first opposition will not come from them. It will come from the noise in your own head, the voice that says, maybe they do not really know, the voice that says, maybe this is temporary, the voice that says, if you act like this matters, you will look proud. That voice is not humility. That voice is fear wearing religious clothing. It wants you to downplay what just happened so you can stay small and safe. But safety is not your assignment anymore. Your assignment is to stand in the truth without needing their apology, their acknowledgement, or their change of heart. Think of Joseph for a moment. Not the polished version at the end of the story, but the one in the pit, the one in the prison, the one whose dreams were mocked by his own family. He did not become who he was because his brothers finally admitted they were wrong. He became who he was because he kept stewarding what was in his hands, even when no one saw it as valuable. When they finally stood before him years later, it was not his moment to say, "See, I told you." It was his moment to say, "You intended harm, but God intended good." Your story is not identical to his, but the pattern is familiar. What was meant to shrink you is being used to position you. What was meant to silence you is being used to refine your voice. And what was meant to make you doubt your calling is being used to teach you that your calling does not depend on their approval. If you ignore this signal, if you pretend this moment is not significant, you risk returning to the same cycle. You risk letting their late recognition become just another story you tell yourself without letting it change how you live. You risk going back to shrinking in rooms where you were always meant to stand. You risk teaching your heart that truth only matters when other people confirm it. That is too high a price to pay for the comfort of staying small. The cost of ignoring this signal is not just emotional, it is vocational, it is relational, it is spiritual. It is the difference between walking in what you know and hiding in what you fear. So here is what I want you to do right now, in the middle of this narration. In the comments, type the numbers 888. Do not overthink it. Do not turn it into a superstition. Let it be a simple confirmation that you are aligning with this moment of recognition, that you are choosing to stand in the truth about who you are, even if it feels new and unfamiliar. Type 888 and then return your attention here, because what comes next is where the real shift begins. The root of this pain is not only what they did, it is the agreement you made afterward. Somewhere along the line, you decided that their version of you was safer than your own. You decided that if you stayed small, you would not be attacked again. You decided that if you did not take up too much space, you would not be humiliated again. That agreement made sense at the time. It protected you, but now it is suffocating you. It is keeping you from the very visibility that heaven has been preparing. You do not need to blame yourself for making that agreement. You only need to recognize that it is no longer serving you. Recognition alone is not enough. You need a framework to move through this season with clarity, prayer, and practical discernment. The secret calendar of the chosen was created to be that companion, helping you distinguish between waiting, preparation, closure, redirection, and new beginnings, so you can respond with faith instead of panic. To access the ebook, go now to the top of the comments and click the link in the pinned comment. This is why many readers return to these pages when they enter a new season. With that framework in place, you can begin to release the old agreement without fear that you will be left unprotected. Your mind, your body, and your spirit are all reacting to this moment, but they are not all saying the same thing. Your mind wants to analyze every detail to make sure you are not misreading the situation. Your body wants to tense up to prepare for another attack, another humiliation, another reason to shrink. But your spirit, the deepest part of you, is whispering something different. It is saying, this is not a threat. This is a confirmation. It is saying, you do not need to fight for what is already yours. It is saying, rest in the truth and let it do its work. Learning to distinguish these voices is part of walking in this new season. It is part of refusing to let fear dictate your next move. This shift will also affect your relationships and your environments. There will be people who notice that you are different, that you are not as available for their drama, that you are not as eager to prove yourself. Some of them will not like it. They will prefer the version of you that was easier to manage, but there will also be people who feel safer around you because you are no longer carrying the weight of pretending. They will feel your peace, they will feel your clarity, and they will be drawn to it. This is not a call to isolate yourself. It is a call to discern which environments are aligned with who you are becoming and which ones are still tied to who you used to be. The opposition will try to keep you stuck through noise, fatigue, delay, and lesser urgencies. It will flood your calendar with things that feel important but are not. It will fill your mind with comparisons that make you doubt your progress. It will tempt you to scroll, to distract, to numb, anything to avoid the quiet where the truth is waiting. Do not let it win. Protect your attention. Protect your rest. Protect the spaces where you can hear the voice that is not trying to shrink you. This is not about being perfect. It is about being intentional. It is about choosing again and again to return to the truth, even when it is easier to return to the noise. There comes a point when you stop negotiating with the truth connected to this title. You stop asking, what if they were right? You stop asking, what if I am imagining this? You stop asking, what if I am being too proud? Instead, you begin to ask, what if this is exactly what heaven said it was? What if this humiliation was never the final word? What if this moment is the beginning of a different kind of visibility? That shift in questioning is the turning point. It is the moment you stop trying to convince yourself that you are small and start allowing yourself to believe that you are seen. Imagine your life as a sealed letter. For years, you have been carried from place to place, from hand to hand, from room to room, but never opened. People have looked at the outside, guessed at the contents, assigned you a meaning based on the envelope, not the message inside. Some have treated you with care. Others have tossed you aside. A few have tried to write on you, adding their own notes, their own interpretations, their own labels, but none of them could open you. Only the intended recipient could do that. And now, finally, the hands that once dismissed you are holding you again, but this time they are reading. They are seeing the words they never bothered to learn before. They are discovering the depth they assumed was not there. And in that reading, their understanding of you is being rewritten, not by your effort, but by your existence. Inside that sealed letter, formation has been happening all along. The words were not written in a day. They were composed in the quiet, in the waiting, in the prayers that felt unanswered, in the decisions that no one saw. Every time you chose integrity over convenience, a sentence was added. Every time you chose kindness over retaliation, a paragraph was formed. Every time you chose to keep going when you wanted to quit, a chapter was completed. You did not know you were being written. You only knew you were being faithful. But faithfulness is how the deepest messages are composed. The opposition inside this metaphor is the dust, the distance, the delay. It is the shelves where you were stored and forgotten. It is the hands that picked you up and put you down without reading. It is the assumption that you were just another piece of mail, another name on a list, another ordinary thing in a world full of ordinary things. That assumption kept you covered. It kept you from being seen. It kept you from fulfilling the purpose for which you were written. But dust does not last forever. Distance does not hold forever. Delay is not the final word. There comes a moment when the letter is picked up again, not to be moved, but to be opened. And now that moment has arrived. The seal is broken, the envelope is torn, the pages are being turned. The words that were always there are finally being read. And in that reading, everything changes. Not because the words are new, but because they are finally seen. Not because you have changed, but because the eyes looking at you have changed. This is the movement inside the metaphor. This is the opening, the rising, the lighting, the flowing, the return. This is the moment the letter stops being an object and starts being a message. In the comments, type the short phrase, "I am seen." Let it be your way of agreeing with this moment, of stepping into the truth that you are no longer hidden from the eyes that once dismissed you. Type "I am seen" and then return here, because what comes next is where you learn how to live in this new reality without losing your peace. This is not a return to performance. It is a return to identity. You do not need to act like the chosen one. You are the chosen one. You do not need to prove that you are seen. You are seen. The letter does not need to convince the reader that it has value. It simply needs to be read, and now that it is being read, its value is undeniable. This is the heart of what this title is offering you. Not a new mask, not a new strategy, not a new way to earn what is already yours. Just a return to the truth that was always there, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Here is one practice you can begin today. When you wake up tomorrow, before you check your phone, before you open your email, before you step into the noise of the day, take 60 seconds to place your hand on your chest and say, "I am who heaven says I am." Not who my past says I am, not who my critics say I am, not who my fears say I am, just who heaven says I am. Let that be the first voice you listen to. Let that be the foundation for everything else that happens that day. This is not magic. It is alignment. It is choosing again and again to root your identity in the truth that cannot be shaken. Here is a second practice. When you feel the urge to explain yourself, to defend your worth, to prove that you are not who they once said you were, pause. Take one deep breath. Ask yourself, is this explanation necessary, or is it just my old agreement trying to survive? If it is not necessary, let it go. If it is necessary, speak with clarity and peace, not with panic or pride. This practice will save you energy. It will protect your peace. It will teach you that you do not need to fight for every room. Some rooms are not meant for you, and some rooms will open simply because you stop trying to force them. There will be moments when you need to protect yourself through limits. Not every door needs to be opened. Not every invitation needs to be accepted. Not every conversation needs to be had. Mercy sometimes looks like a closed door. It looks like a pause. It looks like a changed rhythm. It looks like saying no to what would have once felt like an opportunity, but now feels like a distraction. This is not hardness. This is stewardship. This is the wisdom that comes from knowing that your time, your energy, your attention are sacred. They are not unlimited. They are not for everyone. They are for the purposes that align with who you are becoming. There is one decision you need to make today. It is simple, but it is not small. You need to decide that you will no longer let their late recognition define your worth. You will not let their surprise become your identity. You will not let their regret become your victory. Your worth was established long before they knew it. Your identity was sealed long before they saw it. Your victory was secured long before they understood it. This decision is not about them. It is about you. It's about choosing to walk in the truth without needing their confirmation. It's about choosing to rest in the knowledge that you are who heaven says you are, regardless of who sees it and who does not. If this message has resonated with you, if it has touched something deep inside, I want you to do something simple. Tap the like button on this video. Do not think of it as a metric. Do not think of it as support for a channel. Think of it as your silent amen, your quiet agreement with the truth that has been spoken over you today. Let it be your way of saying, yes, this is for me. Yes, I receive this. Yes, I am stepping into this new season with open hands and an open heart. There is someone who came to your mind while you were listening. You know who they are. They are the one who has been waiting for a word like this, the one who has been carrying a similar humiliation, a similar hiddenness, a similar longing to be seen for who they truly are. Share this message with them, not as a performance, not as a way to prove that you were right, but as an act of care, as a way of saying, I thought of you, I remembered you, I believe you need to hear this. That act of sharing may be the very thing that helps them step into their own season of recognition. In the comments, type this exact sentence, I am chosen. Let it be your declaration, your agreement, your confirmation that you are no longer hiding from the truth about who you are. Type I am chosen and let it be the beginning of a new way of walking through your days, your rooms, your relationships, your prayers. This is not a wish. This is a fact. And facts do not change based on who sees them and who does not. You have carried this humiliation for so long that it has become part of your story, part of your identity, part of the way you explain yourself to others. But today, that story is being rewritten, not by their recognition, but by your return to the truth. You are seeing the pain for what it was. You are seeing the signal for what it is. You are seeing the root for what it has been. You are seeing the opposition for what it tries to do. You are seeing the metaphor for what it reveals. You are seeing the practices for what they offer. You are seeing the return for what it means. And in that seeing, something inside you is settling. The confusion is losing its authority. The fear is losing its volume. The old agreements are losing their grip. You are not the same person who started listening to this message. You are someone who has been reminded of who you are, and that reminder is changing everything. May peace rest on you like a blanket that no one can remove. May clarity guide your steps like a light that does not flicker. May courage rise in you like a tide that cannot be held back. May your heart remember again and again that you are seen, you are known, you are chosen, you are held. May your days be filled with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your identity is not up for debate. May your nights be filled with the deep rest that comes from knowing you do not have to fight for what is already yours. And may you walk through this new season with your head high, your hands open, and your heart steady, knowing that the person who once humiliated you has just discovered who you are, and it is too late for them to change it. It is sealed. May peace rest on you like a blanket that no one can remove. May clarity guide your steps like a light that does not flicker. May courage rise in you like a tide that cannot be held back. May your heart remember again and again that you are seen, you are known, you are chosen, you are held. May your days be filled with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your identity is not up for debate. May your nights be filled with the deep rest that comes from knowing you do not have to fight for what is already yours. And may you walk through this new season with your head high, your hands open, and your heart steady, knowing that the person who once humiliated you has just discovered who you are, and it is too late for them to change it. It is sealed.